applicants, agents, staff, and members of the public. I now call the Committee of Adjustment meeting for October 17th, 2024 to order. As this meeting is also being held virtually, I will remind you that the meeting is being recorded and streamed live via the County of Brant YouTube account. This meeting is held in accordance with the provision of the Planning Act, which requires notice of the public information meeting and the public notice sign to be posted. The purpose of this meeting is to discuss minor variances and consent applications and provide those in attendance the opportunity to provide feedback. A copy of the meeting agenda with all related materials is available on the County of Brant website. Once the presentations, public hearing, and question period are complete for each item, if the committee deems it appropriate, they will make a decision which is final following the 20-day appeal period. The order of delegation are as follows: the planning staff report and recommendation, applicant agent presentation, questions and discussion, public comments, further questions of clarification, and the decision. I'll now start with item 1, attendance of the committee members. Please indicate by stating present if you are in attendance. Mary Jane Brown, present. Harry Emmett,
present.
Bob Hamilton,
present.
Jane Penag,
Present.
Rebecca Smith is absent tonight. Steve Schmidt,
Present.
and John Bamus.
Present.
Thank you. We'll now move to item 2, approval of the agenda. Do any members have any items to be added to the agenda? There are none, so I'll request a mover and a seconder. Member Emmett, Member Schmidt, please provide your motion.
Moved by myself and seconded by Member Schmidt that the agenda for the County of Brant Committee of Adjustment meeting of October 17, 2024 be approved.
Thank you. Members, please indicate if you are in favor of the motion, starting with Member Emmett.
Yes.
Member Schmidt.
Yes.
Member Hamilton.
Yes.
Member Penag.
Yes.
Member Bamus.
Yes.
And Brown, yes. The motion to approve the agenda has carried, so the agenda is now in our minutes. We'll now move to item 3, declaration of pecuniary interest. Are there any members who would like to declare a conflict of interest for any items on the agenda this evening? And I believe there are none. We will move to item 4, adoption of the minutes from the previous meeting, September 19th, 2024. Do the committee members have any errors or omissions to note from those minutes? I believe there were none. May I have a mover and a seconder for this? Member Hamilton, Member Bamus, can you please provide your motion, Member Hamilton?
Moved by myself and seconded by Member Bamus that the minutes from the County of Brant Committee of Adjustment meeting for September the 19th, 2024 be approved.
Members, please indicate if you are in favor of this motion, starting with Member Emmett.
Yes.
Member Schmidt.
Yes.
Member Hamilton.
Yes.
Member Penag.
Yes.
Member Bamus.
Yes.
And Member Brown, yes. The motion to adopt the minutes from September has carried. It is now in record. I will turn it over now to Kayla DeLay regarding an application on our agenda tonight.
Thank you. To the committee and members of the public, we have had a request by the agent for application B1624 LK for 3 and 33 Salt Springs Road for an automatic deferral. So we won't be speaking to this application this evening. There are some revisions to be made. They will come back at a later date, and notice will be provided at that If there are any members of the public who are here for that application, we just wanted to make you aware that it won't be presented this evening.
Thank you. I will note that if you are here to speak to an application, please do come to the podium and provide your name. And anyone attending in person, please sign the sign-in sheet. Thank you. We will now move to item 5.1 on our meeting agenda for application SV2-24-LK and turn it over to staff for the presentation of the report and the recommendation.
Good evening. This is a sign variance application for lands located at 231 Grand River Street North within the town of Paris. Apologies. Subject lands are located east of Grand River Street North and north of St. Patrick Street. The surrounding area consists primarily of residential uses and a single institutional use to the northwest. The applicant is requesting relief from Section H, subsection H4 of the sign bylaw 12108 to permit an LED sign, whereas the sign bylaw only stipulates for an electronic display. The sign face area, LED signage area, and proposed height are all in keeping with the sign bylaw. Subject lands are designated institutional within the County of Brant official plan and located within the primary urban settlement boundary of Paris. The subject lands are currently zoned minor institutional N1 within the County of Brant zoning bylaw 6116. There are no public comments were received as part of the public circulation. As a result of the sign bylaw review, staff is of the opinion that the request is in keeping with the overall intent of the sign bylaw and the general intent and purpose of the official plan. The request is minor in nature and will not negatively impact the adjacent land uses. I'm recommending approval for the sign variance application SV2-24-LK.
Thank you, Logan, for the presentation. Do any committee members have any questions on this application? Member Vamus?
Through the chair to Logan, did the applicant state how many lumens or that the sign would emit, or is it, did they submit anything like that? How bright it is?
Through the chair, the applicant included on the drawings for the proposal that the sign will not negatively impact adjacent properties or protrude light onto residential land uses that are abutting the property. But to your question specifically, the agent is here and can speak more technically to that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from committee members to staff? I'll then ask, is the applicant or their agent present? Yes. Can I have your name? Can you please come to the front? Do you have anything you wish to add to the staff report?
Yeah, with regards to the lumens, the technology now can change and be altered by the software program that's within the whole computer. Generally, we use nits. That's how it's determined, and we won't go more than probably 4,500 nits. But at this time, I also want to reiterate, the school is going to turn the sign off at 9 o'clock at night. They're willing to work with the community. They are just trying to upgrade and get a new full color unit. Their unit is probably that they have right now. They have a monochrome unit right now that is probably getting close to being outdated and will need to be changed anyways because it's not going to work much longer with technology, and it's been there probably, I'm going to say 12 years at least. So you're looking at just all they want to do is remove that existing sign, put the new sign up, and they're just making the new sign is more full color. They will keep it static like it is now. They're not going to do any vibrant messaging. They're trying to just inform the community of their upcoming events at the school. So I do not believe they're using it for anything other than that. That's what the Grand Erie District School Board wants them to do throughout this area. So,
Are there any other questions to the applicant? Yes, Member Hamilton?
Through the chair to the agent, or is it going to be put on the same location that the current sign is on, or is it shifting?
it's shifting, and the reason it's shifting is the county asked us to move it back towards the building a little bit. I think it has to move back 2.2 meters. It's going to be almost in the same area, probably 4 feet towards, I'm guessing, the south. Forgive me, I don't know exactly which way I'm going here. So
Yeah, all right. No, I was just curious if it was going to be in the same location.
yeah, they
or
have to
should-
move it slightly because they're going to remove that one, and we're going to be putting in new concrete footing, and we need to have it a little bit away from that, and they will be running their electrical to that location.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions to the agent? I have a question. Is it roughly the same size?
Yes.
Okay. I wondered. Any other questions? We are now going to open the public portion of this meeting. If there are any registered delegates, no, there are none. Are there any in the public audience here who wish to speak to this application? I'm opening the floor for the first time. Yes, can I have your name and can you please come to the podium?
My name is Catherine Raitt.
Catherine,
Raitt, R-A-I-T.
thank you.
There's a bit of confusion. I live on Bailey, and we got notified of this sign, but we're like confused as to where this sign is or where it's going. So I just wanted some clarification as to, is it the sign that's in front of the school that they're changing? Or is
Yeah.
this the one that
On Grand River Street.
It's on Grand River, okay, because from the information that we were given on the paper, it just made no sense, so that's why we came down to find out exactly what was going on.
Did the agent in his remarks provide the information you're after?
No, that's why, that's why I'm up here now,
Okay.
because I didn't know which sign they were speaking about, because I know that they're, at some point, they're going to be changing the track, and they're going to be adding stands and so on and so forth. So we were just wondering if the sign was going to be for the football, but it's just this sign that's out front. And
Would you like to see the staff's presentation on the overhead again? It showed where the sign is and the details on it.
sure.
Could you do that, please, Logan?
So it was,
And then if you have any questions, direct them for the content that we'll see now. It shows, see, there is Grand River Street.
Right, okay.
It shows right
because when information in the paper we got, there was some signage or a red marking near the track, and we were wondering, is that where they're going to be putting the sign? So that's confusion. We didn't understand.
This application only covers the sign on Grand River Street. It's essentially following almost the same footprint. It's just moving a bit back from the street.
Okay, perfect. That's all we needed to know. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. And I'll open the floor to the public for the second time. Are there any other comments or questions? And again, I'll request a third time for any other comments or questions. And with that, I'll ask the committee, since there are no more public comments, are there any final questions or comments to the agent or staff? Since there are none, I will now request a motion from the committee. And if you could please state your motion to see if there's a seconder supporting it. Member Panay, can you please state your motion?
I'd like to make a motion that application number SV 2-24-LK be approved if there's any condition subject to the conditions. Thank you.
I believe there were no conditions on this. Okay. Do we have a seconder to Member Schmidt? I'll now call the vote, starting with Member Emmett.
Yes.
Member Schmidt.
Yes.
Member Hamilton.
Yes.
Member Penag.
Yes.
And Member Famous.
Yes.
And Member Brown, yes. The motion to approve application SV 2-24-LK has carried, so that application has now been approved. Thank you. You're welcome. I will now introduce item 5.2 for application B13-24-KD and turn it over to staff for the presentation of the report and the recommendation.
Thank you. This is a consent application for lands located at 197 Pinehurst Road in Paris. The lands are located at the corner of Watts Pond Road and Pinehurst Road, and they include a commercial plaza where McDonald's is located, as well as other commercial units. The lands are designated general commercial in the County of Brant official plan, and they are zoned C2 in the County of Brant zoning bylaw. This is a bit of a unique application. We don't see it too often, but the application is simply to allow for a land lease of parking and drive-through areas that are surrounding the McDonald's building. The Planning Act sets out the requirements for consents, which are required for leases that are in excess of 21 years, and that's what makes this application necessary. Planning staff support the consent application for a lease in excess of 21 years and recommend approval subject to the attached conditions. I'm happy to answer any questions the committee may have.
Thank you, Kayla, for the presentation. Do committee members have any questions to staff? Member Hamilton, please go ahead.
Through the chair to staff, how long is this lease that we're approving? If it's greater than 21 years, that's fine, but how long is it?
Through the chair, the applicant didn't note in their application what that timeline will be. We do know it's in excess of 21 years, making the application necessary, but the agent is here this evening and can speak to the details of that lease agreement.
Okay, I'll wait.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions to staff? It appears there are none. And I believe that the applicant or their agent is present tonight. Yes? Can you please come to the podium? Good evening. Can we have your name, please?
Yeah, awesome for Vicano Developments. Yep. So just to answer that question, so the lease is originally 20 years, and the tenant has an option for two 2 additional 10-year terms. So it could be up to 40 years.
Okay, yeah, no, I was just wondering, you're asking us to approve something, but you're not telling us how long it is. So that was the only reason I asked the question. So it will be then greater than 21 and could be up to 40, you're saying?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
And do you have anything else you wish to add to the staff report?
No, staff report pretty much covered everything. So it is a land lease. So the tenant is leasing the land that the building sits on. The building itself and the drive-through area are leasehold improvements that were completed by the tenant. That's why it makes it a land lease. They've been successful there so far, and they are excited to continue the lease there.
Thank you. Are there any other comments, questions to the agent from committee members? Member Famous, please go ahead.
Through the chair to the applicant. So it's basically a land lease. This is just for the parking lot. It's not for the building.
It's for the land that the building and the drive-through sit on.
But here it says that you want to increase 18% of the outdoor area. So for more bigger drive-through, more parking spaces, walkway, garbage enclosure. So the lease, you want to expand the parking lot lease, like the area, or?
Sorry, I'm not understanding.
I'm just,
So-
the land, are they leasing the building or the land, and then they want to increase they want to put an outdoor patio, or?
Through the chair, in essence, what's happening, that 18% is roughly the area that they're looking to include for this land lease, which would cover off not only the building, but it would cover off the drive-through, some parking areas, garbage enclosure, which are all necessary for this operation to function. And so by formally going through the consent process, that ensures that those lands are leased as in addition to the building to the tenant.
But aren't they leased now for 21 years? Like,
through-
how are they operating now?
Through the chair, I'll let the agent expand on that, but it's my assumption that the land lease requires a consent in excess of 21 years, but perhaps their lease agreement with their tenants doesn't require the consent application.
Yeah, so the lease agreement doesn't include, it's the land itself that requires the consent application. The land that the building and the drive-through and the garbage area sits on.
Any other comments, questions to the applicant? Member Penag?
Through the chair, it is a bit confusing. Is it for the land only? The additional land adding to the existing lease?
My understanding is that because there's a provision that maximizes a lease, which you are currently under the obligations now, because it's successful, they want the option to extend the lease longer. I think with the addition of the statements, that was my confusion when I read it too. I thought they're only extending the lease to a greater percentage of the land, but that isn't the case. The way, and correct me if I'm wrong, my interpretation is there's a rule that says you can only have a lease for X number of years, which is 21, and they are now requesting that can they have this lease for longer than 21 years?
That's correct. We're not expanding the area of the lease. We're just expanding the time of the term of the lease.
Because the lease originally would already have the drive-through, the garbage containers, the outside sitting area.
Yes, correct.
If you look at, when I had that question to Kayla earlier, and if you look at what is page 41 of the printout, the red lines show where the lease is.
Yeah, so just to clarify, the red line, if that can come back on the screen, the red line is the area that's being leased by McDonald's. So the building they built themselves, so they're not leasing the building from us. They're not leasing the drive-through from us. They're leasing the land underneath those two things. If that makes sense.
Thank you.
It is a bit confusing. So are there any other comments, questions to the applicant? Member Vamus.
Through the chair to the applicant, so there is already a 20-year lease in place with an option for another 10 and an option for another 10 after that. So it is already written for a 40-year lease. So they want more than 40 years?
No, technically we only have a 20-year lease with them. They have
But you
the
said it's
option.
renewable after for
Yes.
another 10 and then renewable for another 10. So basically it's locked up for 40 years.
No, because if we don't get approved for this, it's not locked up. The lease is dependent on the consent application.
And also, you may not exercise your option at the end of the lease.
So right now, we have a 20-year lease. It's a 20-year lease. Either the tenant can say they don't want to extend, or we can say that we don't want to extend.
Well, I thought they had an option for another 10 on top of that.
It needs to be agreed upon by both parties.
Okay.
Any other comments, questions? I believe at this point there are none from the committee. I will now open the public portion of this application. And I'll ask if there's anyone, are there any public delegations? No. Are there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to this? It appears there are none. And I'll open the floor for a second time and again for a third time, so there are no public comments. Then I will ask the committee, do you have any final questions, comments to either staff or the applicant on this application? Since there are none, I will now request the committee to put forth a motion. Member Hamilton, please state your motion. See if a seconder will support it.
I move that we accept consent application bracketed lease extension B13-24 KD with the conditions that are attached to go ahead and approve it.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Member Emmett. I'll now call the vote, starting with Member Emmett.
Yes.
Member Schmidt.
Yes.
Member Hamilton.
Yes.
Member Penag.
Yes.
Member Vamus.
No.
Member Brown, yes. The motion to approve application B1324 KD has carried, so the application has now been approved. Thank you. I will now introduce the item 5.3 for application B14-24-KD and turn it over to staff for the presentation of the report and the recommendation.
So this is a consent application for lands located at 104 Oak Ave within the town of Paris. The subject lands are located on the west side of Oak Ave and north of Woodsley Avenue. Subject lands have a frontage of approximately 33 meters and a total area of approximately 736.85 square meters. The property is currently vacant. Subject lands are currently serviced by municipal services, and the surrounding area consists of residential land uses and proposed residential subdivision. The subject lands are designated urban residential within the County of Brant official plan, and the currently zoned residential singles and semis with the site-specific provision 18 within the County of Brant bylaw, zoning bylaw 6116. The applicant is proposing a severance located at 104 Oak Ave with one existing plan of subdivision in order to create two parcels from one existing block. Severance is to facilitate the future construction of single detached dwelling units within the severed lots in accordance with the development standard of residential singles and semis with a site-specific provision R218. The land was recently merged with abutting lands to the west under planning application B20-23-SL in order to create a parcel that could be severed into 2 proposed lots. Previous application B2023SL was approved to facilitate the future construction of single detached dwelling units in accordance with the development standards of the residential singles and semis with site-specific provision R218. As a result of the review of the consent application, staff is of the opinion that the request is in keeping with the general intent of the County of Brant official plan and zoning bylaw. The request is minor in nature and proposed severance will not negatively impact surrounding residential uses. I'm recommending approval of this application B14-24-KD, subject to the attached conditions. I will note that condition 3 of the attached condition list is to be removed and not required to be met as parkland was already collected for the 2 lots during subdivision stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Logan, for the presentation. I will now ask the committee, do you have any questions or comments to staff on this application? Member Hamilton, please go ahead.
Through the chair to staff, you just said that the parkland dedication would, because of the subdivision, this lot was created with a lot line adjustment previously, and it wasn't part of the subdivision. Am I correct with that?
Through the chair, it's my understanding that the subject lands were, the parkland fee was collected during the subdivision stage for the 2 lots being proposed.
Okay, I just, that wasn't enough land there for the 2 lots. We did a lot line adjustment, pulling it from that field behind. So it was not part of the subdivision plan.
Through the chair to Member Hamilton. So originally staff had the condition on because we also felt the same way that you did, that, you know, maybe perhaps this condition is required. But Logan did some digging and did consult with our Parks and Forestry division, who's responsible for collecting that fee. And after consulting with them, it was noted that it does not need to be collected. So we will leave it in their hands to direct us. And then that's the direction that we were given and brought forward this evening.
Okay, it seems strange when you're creating and pulling on things when the subdivision that was approved by council was changed and then is put in here. So, all right, no, that's fine.
Sure, and I can just note that we do have Bob Stewart, who's the agent, on the line this evening, so he may be able to speak in greater detail to the previous subdivision stage.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions to staff? Member Hamilton.
Through the chair to staff, do we have, does the county have to provide a number, a 911 number for that, or is that when the building plan comes forward? Because it's not there. It's right now 104, but if we split it, it won't be there, and it has to be identified, I would think, at some time.
Through the chair, they will have to ensure that they have application for a civic address at the building permit stage.
Okay, so it's within the building permit, because sometimes we have, that's been a condition that we put on here, so that's the confusion at times. It keeps changing, and you're asking us to keep approving things, but you change the rules, and we don't know about them till we're sitting here in this room. So, okay, thank you.
Just to note that on page 9, it does point out that Canada Post is, their comments were they'll be serviced by community mailboxes, so, but that doesn't speak to the civic address. Another point was that it does need its own, so another mailbox can be ordered. Any other comments or questions to staff? Then I do believe the applicant's agent is present online, or yes, here. Okay.
Yeah.
Could I
Madam
have your
Chair.
name and do you wish to add to the staff report? And there are some questions already for you, I believe.
Yes, thank you. Bob Stewart from Pine Best Homes. Thanks to Logan and Kayla for their work on this file through the process. And through you, Madam Chair, regarding the question on parkland. Yeah, we had some discussions with Brookfield, the current owners of the land, and it wasn't by lot basis on the parkland. It was an overall acreage that was accounted for with various parkland that was created as part of the subdivision. And that would be similar to Gusenbauer's subdivision for which the land was transferred. And that was kind of through the discussions with park staff, as Kayla had mentioned. So that's how we were hoping to move forward with the 2 lots. And on municipal addressing, yeah, absolutely through the building permit stage, we'll make sure we work with Canada Post on the final number and make sure county staff's acceptable, as well as Canada Post on those 2 new lot creations on the current parcel. But again, sorry I couldn't be there in person tonight, but happy to answer any further questions.
Thank you. Are there any comments, questions? Member Hamilton, please go ahead.
Yeah, I just would like a little more clarification on this, that how much per lot was designated through the plan, or are you giving X amount of acres instead of lieu of dollars to build an actual park, and where will that park be? Because I believe it's all subdivision behind. So
correct, and if happy to address that through you, Madam Chair. Part of the original subdivision, these lands were residential reserves on both blocks, and through the Brookfield subdivision, adequate parkland, the 5%. Was created as part of the subdivision. One is the Woodsley Linear Park, which is right next door on the other side of the road, and the other is the larger park you'll see along Hartley Ave. So when that subdivision was created, that percentage of parkland was adequately given through the creation of those park blocks, not through cash.
okay, thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Member Vamus?
I just had a comment to the committee members that I think condition 3 should stay. If Pine Vents wants to sever a lot, they should pay the fees like everyone else. In my opinion, I don't care what they did in the past or what they paid in the past. There's no impact on this particular application. So if they want to sever, they pay like everybody else. I don't care what they did before. It's my comment to other committee members. Thanks.
Any other comments, questions? My comment would be that for condition 3 is, as the application outlines, it is a severance. So what's currently there right now, it looks like the original plan of subdivision was leaving it at 1 lot, and there was also land transferred on a lot line adjustment. So to me, there is an additional lot coming out of this. And in the past, where we've had, say, a farm and a lot was severed off, we did implement the condition for the parkland dedication. I don't know if there's any other committee members who want to comment on that as well. But I will open it up to the public portion now, and if there are there any public delegations online? There are none. And are there any members of the audience who wish to speak to this? No? And I'll request a second time, and I'll request a third. So now the public portion of this meeting, this application is closed. So then I'll ask the committee, are there any final comments or questions to staff or the agent? And since there are none, I'll request the committee members to put forth a motion. there any members wishing? Yes, Member Vamus, please provide your motion to see if you can obtain a seconder.
I'd like to make a motion to approve B14-24-KD with the attached conditions. Looking for a seconder.
Thank you. Are there, Member Penag, you wish to second? I will now call the vote, starting with Member Emmett.
Can I have a clarification? So is concession 3 in or out?
Member Vamus said with the attached conditions, and he didn't provide any editing to it. That was your intent, Member
Yep.
Vamus?
The full conditions,
Yes.
including number 3.
And Member Penag, you support that motion as a seconder with the condition 3 as it stands. Okay. Member Emmett?
Yes.
Member Schmidt?
Yes.
Member Hamilton?
Yes.
Member Penag?
Yes.
Member Vamus?
Yes.
And Member Brown, yes. The motion to approve application B1424KD with the attached conditions as they were submitted to us has carried, so that application has been approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
I will now introduce the item 5.4 for application B15-24-ES and turn it over to staff for the presentation of the report and the recommendation.
So application B1524-ES, this is a surplus farm dwelling severance application for lands located at 405 3rd Concession within the former geographic township of Burford. The subject lands are located south of 3rd Concession Road and approximately 290 meters west of West Quarter Town Line Road. Subject lands have a frontage of approximately 295.29 meters and a depth of approximately 1,225 meters and a total area of 33.6 hectares. Subject lands have one single attached two-story farmhouse and 3 accessory structures that are to be demolished. Subject lands are currently serviced by private services. The surrounding area consists of agricultural and natural heritage land uses. The subject lands are designated agriculture and natural heritage within the County of Brant official plan and currently zoned agriculture and natural heritage within the County of Brant zoning bylaw 6116. The applicant is proposing to sever a surplus dwelling with an area of approximately 0.745 hectares and a frontage of approximately 12.4 meters along 3rd Concession Road with the retained lands, and the retained lands have an area of approximately 32.86 hectares. To facilitate the severance, the applicant will be required to apply for a minor rezoning application to prohibit a dwelling as a use on the retained lands. This has been included as a condition of consent, and additionally, severed lands do not meet the requirements for the minimum lot frontage. This has also been included as a condition of consent through the minor rezoning application. As a result of the farm surplus dwelling severance review, staff is of the opinion that the request is in keeping with the general intent of the County of Brant official plan and zoning bylaw. The request is minor in nature and proposed surplus dwelling severance will not negatively impact surrounding residential uses and non-residential uses as the building has been existing for many years. I'm recommending approval of this application B1524-ES subject to the attached conditions.
Thank you, Logan, for the presentation. I'll now ask committee members, do you have any comments or questions to staff on this application? Member Emmett?
Just a clarification, do we need condition 8 left in as we're not creating a new building lot? I presume the parkland has already been sort of looked after with the house in the past, and you're putting an A9 on the rest of the land, so there can't be another residence built. So I just wondered why we have to include the parkland in this
Through the chair, I can just speak to that. So we did pull the parkland dedication bylaw, and specifically within that bylaw, which is housed in our parks division, they do say that it can be collected for a surplus severance. So although I see where you're coming from, it is in the bylaw, and so that's the reason that you see the condition on the report this evening.
Okay.
Any other comments, questions to staff? Member Hamilton?
Yes, on the conditions here, I was wondering, the engineering department said something about the drains that were there, and I see nothing in there on page 9 of 16. There was the thing on the drainage, there's 3 drains there, and should it be acknowledged that the property that's being severed or retained is responsible proportionally for the upkeep of the drains in the area.
Through the chair, if the committee wishes to do so, they may add a condition in that regard. So we'll turn it over to the committee to make that choice.
Excellent. Okay, no, it was just, I didn't know if there was a reasoning why it wasn't included when it was put in prior, so that's all. And the second one is a similar one. Is there a need for a 911 number for the retained lands that don't have anything? They are farmed, there could be accidents, and therefore should it be acknowledged that they need to have a separate number on that piece of land to identify it for any emergency people?
Through the chair, we didn't get those comments from our folks in addressing in our GIS team, but I do see where there could be some merit in that. So if the committee wishes to add that condition, that would be fine. Typically, it's triggered when there are buildings on the retained lands, but we know accidents can happen.
I think we did this. We added this to a condition on the not scenic, the other one going into St. George when they severed off that one, when going way back up into it. It was just a laneway, but we had to identify. We did identify it. We didn't have to. We did to make sure that if any emergency people come out to service, be it fire or medical, that they would have a number to go to, so it could be looked after.
So right now, we're adding possibly with our motion 2 conditions, one for the drainage costs and one for the civic address. Okay. And Member Hamilton?
Through the staff to Logan, to the chair, could you pop up that picture of the blown up one? How wide is the driveway? It's only 40 feet. Is it 40 feet wide? Is that what the thing was that you talked about? Because the lot is a little wider than that. So is it 40 feet going from the road back to the house?
Through the chair. Yes, that difference in the driveway is 12.4 meters.
Okay. I was back in there earlier this week, and I would say the corn growing on both sides of the laneway is probably less, the driveway is less than 40 feet in that situation. It's just something in the future to be aware of, I guess, when Mr. Martin farms it, that he either leaves it or gets consent with whoever owns the property to keep the weeds down. So, okay, thank you.
And I only had a question on, because I didn't get a chance to go see it, to access the land itself, is there a road entrance?
Through the chair, there is a driveway that leads right up to the existing farmhouse.
No, I mean other than that driveway, so it would just go to the land, so farm equipment going in and off the road?
Through the chair, I don't have that information. Apologies.
So there's no road entrance for the land?
For the retained portion?
Yeah.
I thought there was three, identified three, didn't I?
It's my question because I didn't see it. So did you see entrances to the land, Member Hamilton?
No, I just went in the driveway because it was all corn and it was too high. I didn't bother.
You didn't, okay, so.
Through the chair, I will just note that our development engineering team did have a comment just that the retained and severed parcels have care and control of their own entrances. But we do, I believe, have the agent for this application on with us this evening. So perhaps they could comment on the details for the retained access.
It's just that I think in the past when we severed a surplus farm dwelling, there was often road entrances for the land and they were just in place. So, okay, thank you. Then with that, I would assume, no, Member Hamilton?
I have, through this chair to staff, Logan, could you explain to everybody here, I don't think they're, maybe they're smarter than I am, but fully aware of where the extra land is being pulled for road widening, please?
Through the chair. Yes, absolutely. So after discussions with our operations team, you can take road widening from any abutting property or any abutting land that is on the subject land. So for example, they're taking road widening from the 4th concession road as opposed to 3rd concession. And because the property abuts that road, they can take the road widening from there, just to clarify.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Member Vamus?
I just had a general comment just to the staff and the committee that I have several properties too that I don't have 911 addresses, and it's just very difficult because for like the hydro or like if there's an emergency or someone has a heart attack or something in the building, like for the Ministry of Finance or the Ministry of Environment, some of my hydro bills they come under a neighbor's address. That's how the hydro companies, and then it comes to me, but it's the neighbor's address because there is no 911 address there. And same as gas and my like irrigation permits or anything. You know, I put down, if there's a house across the road, I put across from 1204 Coleman Street West. Like I don't have a physical thing. I have so many problems with that because I don't have a 911 because there's no buildings. But then when I apply for my irrigation permit and then to run the pumps, there's a hydro line coming in, but they have no billing address. So they bill the neighbors, and then my bill has a neighbor's address on there. It's just so, I have so many problems with the 911 on land that doesn't have a building. That just all your foreign Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Finance, you know, my permits, my licensing, everything. It's just a whole mess. Property tax, it's just a whole mess because you have to go by lot and concession, but even that they can't still figure out. You know, concession 4, lot 8. It's still it's nice to have a 911 number. It's just a general comment.
So you would support the condition for the civic addresses?
Yeah, no, it's just a general comment that I have so much trouble because I have some properties that have no 911 address. That it's tough to do business.
Are there any final comments or questions to staff on this right now before we call for the agent? No? Okay, is the agent? Yes? Can you please come to the podium and provide your name? And I assume you wish to add to the staff report?
Yeah, hi, I'm Chelsea Brooks and I'm a planner with MHBC Planning. I don't really have much to add to the report. It was really comprehensive, but I can answer some of the questions you have, except for perhaps the entrance question, and that I believe that the existing entrance is just what you see for the severed lot. Often when we do these sorts of application, there's a requirement for an entrance permit for the farm lot. So That's kind of the expectation we had. But if you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer them to the best of my abilities.
Member Hamilton, please go ahead.
Through the chair to the applicant or an agent, the current hydro pole, is that going to be on the farmland or on the lot for the building?
I believe, as I think if you read in the conditions of consent, like that's a requirement to show the easement on the register or the reference plan. So when that's deposited, it'll show through. I believe part of it is on the agricultural, the retained agricultural land.
Okay, I guess the question comes in from that. If we approve this tonight, if there's not an easement currently on it and we approve it, will that easement get put there? And I guess from talking to Logan, that would happen during the rezoning to the A9. If it was not available, it would be put on at that time, correct?
I'll just jump in here. No, so it won't. The hydro easement won't be dealt with through the rezoning application, but easements for services such as hydro can be included through the condition of consent and be shown on the reference plan, which is then deposited. So that is how we can take care of easements for utilities, gas lines, hydro lines, that sort of thing. So you will note that in the condition we have included the hydro easement to be shown and registered.
Okay, yeah, so if there isn't currently one, it will get put forward because of the condition. All right, I just want to make sure that the person buys this house and a tractor accidentally knocks down the pole and the transformer, and all of a sudden, who's responsible to make sure, other than hydro hooking it back up again, those kind of conditions, that they can have it so.
Thank you. Member Emmett, you had a question?
Yes, through the chair to the agent or staff, whichever one. Back when you had the lot configuration on the screen, since we didn't have one in our package, how much distance is there between the proposed severance to the property line to the east? How much room is there to get farm equipment through there?
To the east is...
Yeah, it's up there now.
I believe it's 86.5 to the east, 86.5 meters between like the driveway and the eastern property line.
It's 86 feet, there could be some issues.
Yeah.
It's 86 meters, that's fine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So it is 86 meters?
Yes, yes. All our measurements on here are meters.
Any other comments, questions? I believe there are none, so I will now open the public portion of this application. And there's no delegates and anyone in the audience? No? First request. Second request and third request, so the public portion of the application is closed. Then I'll ask the committee members, are there any final questions or comments to staff or the agent? I believe there are none. Then I'll ask the committee for a motion, but it appears we're proposing, and I wasn't quite sure with Member Hamilton's comments, it looks like the condition for the easements has been addressed to your satisfaction, yes. But then I wasn't clear on the comment from the agent regarding the entrance permit for the land. Do we need to put a condition in for that, for any motion? I'll leave it with the committee members. And then there was the condition for drainage cots, and as Member Vamus pointed out, a condition for the civic addressing. So with that, I'll ask a committee member to put forth a motion considering the conditions that are in existence with those which we may wish to add. Member Hamilton, please go ahead.
I move that we approve consent application B15-24-ES with the additional condition, the three conditions. One, to make sure there is actually entrance to the fields. I believe there should be someplace, but to ensure that. Two, have the staff put in an appropriate one for the drainage. And three, add the ability to have a 911 number on the thing. So with also the other conditions that were put forward by staff.
On the civic addressing, you're referring to the suburb, which was it? Suburb?
The retained lands.
Okay, the retained lands. Okay, thank you. Is there a seconder? Member Schmidt? I'll now put motion to the members, starting with Member Emmett.
Yes?
Member Schmidt?
Yes.
Member Hamilton?
Yes.
Member Peneg?
Yes.
Member Bamus?
Yes.
And Member Brown? Yes. The motion with the modified and added conditions for application B15-24-ES has carried, and that application is now approved subject to additional conditions. Thank you. I'll just mention that the item 5.5 for application B1624LK has been deferred to a future meeting. I'll now move to item 8 on our agenda, the scheduling of the next meeting, which is for November 21st, 2024. And again, it will be a hybrid meeting starting at 6 p.m. Moving to item 9, may I please get a motion to adjourn the meeting? Member Peneg, is there, and Member Emmett, seconder. I'll now note all those in favor, please raise your hand and say yes for the recording.
Yes.
Okay.